Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes, and thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday. Our special guest is Chris Mettlen. He is having some technical difficulties with connection and joining the podcast. If he is unable to do so, then we will definitely get him rescheduled to appear on a different date. Anna Toledo will be joining in as backup for Chris to discuss some very important events for our outreach and our rally in DC. So we'll give her a little bit of time to join in as well. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. And I'm going to kick it off with targeted justice news for the week.
There is compelling evidence that the CISA criminals are still operating at DHS. They're using censorship and shadow banning on X and other social media sites. There is compelling evidence that a supercomputer is being used to clone the X website, reroute traffic, and perform censorship and shadow banning, especially in the TI community. We suspect the NSA is involved. They are one of the few groups that have a supercomputer capable of cloning a large website. It is also possible that X is being hit with national security letters from the FBI or DHS to hide the criminal activity. Can you imagine AG Bondi or Kash Patel receiving an order from the CIA that something is above their security clearance, and they are required to cover it up? Just like in the US, the people who operate the fusion centers in Europe are the criminals that organize the gangstalking. We recommend some in-depth research from the local targeted law-abiding citizens.
Anna Toledo is very knowledgeable about healthy foods. She has ran a health food restaurant for a while. When you are mindful of what you put into your body, you make it harder for the criminals to destroy you. A raw foods diet makes your body's pH alkaline, making you immune to disease. For most of us, it is not realistic to live a fully raw diet because it is expensive and requires huge amounts of discipline. However, occasional raw habit such as juicing can make a huge difference in strengthening your body's overall health.
This year, we are having Targeted Action 2025, and we're heading to Washington, D.C. We are looking for TIs that are attending the event and who are an hour away from the area. Please email us at tjustice2@proton.me and put Wash DC in the subject line.
This is how the TSDB is distributed globally, through illegal treaties. These agreements require the foreign governments to keep the information secret. According to the FBI, more than 60 such agreements are in place. The U.S. State Department confirms they have around 60% of these bilateral agreements. These illegal treaties were never confirmed by the U.S. Senate, which is required under the U.S. Constitution and U.S. Supreme Court rulings. These scientific treaties may involve some science and technology, but often are used to distribute the 6 million names on the Global Terrorist Screening Database, updated daily at the FBI's Threat Screening Center in Vienna, Virginia. List of 29 countries identified with such agreements. They typically have long titles such as Agreement for Scientific and Technical Cooperation between the Government of the United States of America and the Government of the Argentine Republic.
Some TIs are claiming that Elon Musk is targeting them. Does this make sense? Let's compare the two satellites. Which one can carry a Vercator weapon? A Vercator has a barrel that is about 8 to 10 feet long. It looks like a large bazooka gun. U.S. Patent 434-5220. This is a Starlink version 1.5 stowed in a package for launch. The solar panels expand out like an accordion once it reaches orbit. Does it look like a 10-foot Vercator will fit in this box? This is a Lockheed GPS-3 satellite with one solar panel deployed. It weighs about 5,000 pounds, is about 14 feet tall, 8 feet deep and 38 feet across with the solar panel arrays. This is a weapon system that is designed to track and attack millions of people from orbit. operated by the U.S. Space Force. There are no beamforming directional antennas on a Starlink, and it cannot carry a massive Vercator weapon. The USAF Space Command started attacking people on the ground with Vercators in 1984, using massive GPS satellites. Stop listening to your V2K. Remember, these are being ran by heartless criminals. And you wouldn't take advice from a criminal, would you? Calling all digital warriors. Repost, share, and like this video on every social media site that's out there. We always looking for some awesome people willing to volunteer their time. Let us know what special skills and unique talents you possess by shooting us an email to tjustice2@proton.me. In the subject line, tag volunteer. Looking for more targeted justice content? We have several channels online, 100% free, on rumble.com. Appreciate what we do? We are accepting donations and they're all tax deductible. You can either hit this link to do a quick submission of payment or send us a check to the following mailing address. We are a non-profit organization. We have several different items at our store, ranging from clothes, cups, and merchandise. Either get something for yourself or buy a nicer gift for that special someone by hitting this link.
Thanks for taking your time to watch this video. And God bless, and God bless, and God bless.
Sean, who is a volunteer for Targeted Justice and the Chosen Heroes, he does such a wonderful job on the newsletter, the digital newsletter. He is also the one that does the short videos from my larger episodes and breaks them down, and the promo videos for the Chosen Heroes. So shout out to Sean Burton. He does such amazing work, and he is the embodiment of a digital warrior for our community. All right, I'm just going to announce always a shout out to Armando and the efforts that he's ever expanding his knowledge and perfecting the craft of his offerings with the Silent Night, which I use every night, and it makes a difference for me. I know with each of us, we just have to find and try different things, when we can, that work for us, and what works for me may not work for someone else, but we just have to continue to try to mitigate and lessen the effects of being targeted. As always, I'm going to give a shout out to tievents.org. Tranquility does such an amazing job organizing all events that are related to targeted individuals. And there's just not, for me personally, I would love to attend more, but time is just kind of stretched and I make the most of it. But I definitely urge you, when you're having a bad day or you're feeling like you need it, to plug in to the community who understands what you're going through. No one understands it more than what the community does. And however much we want others to get on the bus with us and understanding this, it's a lot for people to take in. So it takes time. So again, when you need that, plug in of extra support, then I encourage you to plug into one of the events, whether it be a conference call, whether it be a podcast like the Chosen Heroes, or any of the different events that are out there. There's so much out there. I want to announce, upcoming guests for July on the Chosen Heroes. Norrin Rabin will be joining us next Sunday. Norman has been targeted and experienced the effects of targeting for over 35 years. He is definitely a pillar in this community, and an embodiment of never giving up and being resilient and just persevering. So definitely tune in to hear Norman's story next Sunday. And then at the end of the month, Jason Lee, who is also known as Galactic Monk, he gives a lot of straightforward, encouraging, words for this community, building up, the self-empowerment. He's got a new book out. And Jill Amack was the editor, who is also a VP for Targeted Justice. So it'll be a great, engaging conversation. Some other events that are going on. Yesterday, I was part of the, and Anna Toledo is joining us. Hi, Anna. Hi. So glad that you could fill in on such short notice. We will definitely get Chris rescheduled. So I was just wrapping up on some of the events that are coming up. I had spoke about Norman being next week and Jason Lee being on the 27th. And so Beyond the Looking Glass on July 26th, we will have our second workshop. The first one was yesterday. And this is a continuation from the Targeted Survivor Counter-Terrorism series with Jamie Rice. And so now we're moving into counterintelligence. And again, the Beyond the Looking Glass series is more about consciousness studies. It's about self-empowerment and inner healing. This is the kryptonite to the program. Our healing ourselves and being self-empowered is how we destroy it. So that meeting is on July 26th. It is a teleconference through a free conference call. And on July 27th and August 3rd, after the Chosen Heroes episode, this will be in the evening at 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Dr. K, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago, is going to host this event for the community at no cost through Zoom. And it is removing the distorted energetic seals within the body that limit consciousness and connection with one's higher self. So again, more self-empowerment. And if you're interested in signing up for this Zoom call, please email me at chosen_heroes@proton.me so I can provide you the Zoom details. I will be posting on my X account for Chosen Heroes the details as well. So if you are plugged in with X and have an account, you could see it there. If not, please send me an email so I can get you those details. All right. And let me remove this slide here. All right, Anna, so you're going to talk to us today about the event, the upcoming event for DC, the rally.
Yes. Can you hear me well? You're going
can.
on and off, and this, for me, this, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Well, for me, it's very telling that the criminals are so obsessed with blocking Chris, because Chris is, as you know, he's one of our officers, and he's from Kansas, and he's going to DC, and he
It looks like
is
Anna
partnering with another meetings with their congressman. It's intermittent. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're just cutting in and out. And that's what was happening with Chris also. It just seems that we've got a lot of interference for today.
Yeah, well, okay. The good news is, and please excuse my look, because this was like a last minute thing, but they are telling on themselves on how scared they are because their world is crumbling. This is no time to back off. This is the time to roll up your sleeves, Fifth. You need to make your appointment with your congressperson. We have a plethora of fraud and abuse, which is in the mouth of every majority leader right now. There is no more waste, fraud, and abuse than the torture of American civilians in U.S. ground. We're not forgetting the people abroad, but we need to first expose it here. So that is one of the talking points, not only talking points, but for your correspondence with your legislator, with your representative. I can tell you about fraud, waste, and abuse. We will have the research on the grants given to the criminals that chase us around, like Citizen Courts and InfraGard. These programs need to be funded, and America will go back to be what it used to be when there was an Stasi state. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. I want to, give a shout out to you for that, because he is, I believe Richard has taught me, I think he is that he actually filed a lawsuit, and he knew that his V2K was coming from satellites.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a very important historical criminal program, and the timeline that we have in targetedjustice.com.
Yes, yes, in that case,
so
yes, and the case was Mettlen versus Kaste, Cast. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, and Smith. So you can Google it and read about it. He called out, it was two FBI workers, a retired FBI agent and a FBI task force person as well in this, task force officer within this lawsuit. And it's Mettlen versus Caste, Kaste, and Smith. Very important for our, the history and
so you should definitely not miss that, because it's I really appreciate having learned, and when I rebuilt the website, is learning, and I really encourage you to read about it. Just today, I had to reply to a woman in Twitter that she is absolutely obsessed. I am not saying they don't have a role, but the Masons don't run this program. It's the CIA. They do not have the money or the power to run a multinational program. I'm not saying they're not gang stalkers. I'm saying let's speak intelligently and coherently so people take us seriously. It is your duty as a TI to educate yourself so that you can properly educate others and not go around with, with misinformation. It occurred to me, Melissa, that we can do like a Q&A, because I see that Joe there wrote a question about Elon is the good guy, right? Would you like me to address that in the context of what we talked about yesterday in the Onion Critic?
Yes.
Okay, well, Richard explained to me, because look, I'm not saying you have to like Elon Musk, okay? The jury is out for many people. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he has acted well, okay, that he is running the program. That is not the V2K. That is not true. And for example, Norman Rabin will give you evidence that this program has been in existence since at least I think he is days back to 1984, and the first V2K was recorded, I think, in 1957 on a ship. So clearly, the Starlink satellite are a 5-year, in the last 5 years. So you cannot attribute all of you that have been having B2K. Now, number two, do you think that a criminal is going to actually tell you through your V2K, yeah, the criminal is Elon Musk? They're not going to tell on themselves. They're not going to say that it's the criminals under the Denver airport. They're not going to tell on themselves. They're going to push the blame, just like they blame your neighbors using Adobe Voco. So now they hate Elon Musk. Why? Because with Doge, he let's say he dismantled a lot of this program because of the fraud, waste, and abuse. So they're very angry at him. And as many of you may have heard in my program, in my gavel this week, the Department of Homeland Security just fired 75% of the people in their intelligence office, which is the people that run the gangstalking. That should substantially, when it goes into effect, what we're seeing here is that the CIA criminals are desperately trying to point the finger at other people just so because this is being dismantled. So my point is, Elon Musk, you might like or not like him, but Starlink does not have the size to hold an attached Vircator weapon to it. And through the Vircator weapon is that they do the attacks, the satellite attacks, including the V2K. So I hope that puts to rest that, and you know, many of you might say, well, she doesn't have.
It's
Standing to talk about V2K. I am speaking from a good. I don't know where we got cut off.
Yes, it seems like when it delays, it does catch up with the speech. So I was able to hear what you said. So yes, One Freedom is asking, how can we improve the connection? Well, when Chris was dialing in and every other word was cutting out on him, both of us disconnected. I rebooted my computer. He rebooted his phone. And so it just wasn't working. So I don't know if it is the internet connection or something going on with StreamYard, perhaps. Of course, we all know that, it could be, interference with the criminals coming in because they don't want this information out there. As Anna said, Chris has that tracks in the sand. That's what I like to call it. The more you can do to put tracks in the sand of what's happened to you is the way to go, because it's historical. He has this this lawsuit that is filed. You can search for it and pull down the document. That's tracks in the sand. Every time that we have tried to reach out and write to the legislators and to the FBI and all of this and gone unheard, again, tracks in the sand. We are continuing to reach out and let it know that, okay, this has been going on. For me personally, in the beginning, since 2012, I have made these reports and I've done them consistently. So no one can say that I didn't try to reach out and say what was being done to me. And this is all historical tracking. And we know that we get met with resistance when we do try to report. That's when, they want to mislabel us, saying that, we're possible mental illness and all that. We can't get caught up in the world's false labels, because we have a mission and we have to continue to forge forward and charge forward with this information. And one thing that I feel really led to say, and it came to me before the podcast started, is that the reason why it is so important to fight back, we can't sit down and expect things to change. And I know it's scary and it's very intimidating of what is being done against us. Every time we're coming out swinging, then there is a resistant force trying to knock us down. But the way that I view it, and this is how I live my life, after, it being subjected to this insanity, is that I would rather die fighting this and raising my hand and speaking out than to do injustice for my own soul and what my life represents. because I should have never had this done to me. And none of you should have had this done to you. So I do this for my own soul, to say, knowing that up into the moment, I am taken, and I by God, and I go to heaven. I know that I fought this, and I did everything that I could to fight it. I did not back down. I did not kowtow to it. I didn't run away just to give me some momentary reprieve, because to me, that's not enough. To have momentary reprieve, and to potentially lessen it for a bit, is just letting them get away with it. So then in some days, you know what? I will be realistic. Some days I'm like, why do I continue to do this? It's just, I am up against this dragon, this beast. It's like this Goliath. But then I just need to center myself. I got to take some deep breaths and not let this defeat me. But giving yourself grace to even have that moment too, because this is a battle. This is war. This is war for humanity and the future of humanity. So this is why it is so important to plug in and to speak out. We are making a dent. We are making a dent and it's evident by the ways that they come attacking back at us. So we just cannot relent. This is something we cannot do. We are still standing because we are in God's favor. We are, and we don't feel like it sometimes, but here we are. And our voices are out there. I'm even seeing, people who have never chimed a word about being a domestic terrorist. And these are big, media journalists. I'm starting to see more and more that they are starting to come forward with the label of domestic terrorist. And domestic terrorists for what? For speaking the truth, for raising our hand, for questioning, not swallowing the garbage and drinking the water that is served out to us of all of this injustice, not wanting to turn our head while others are being tortured relentlessly. Is that what a domestic terrorist is? Someone who is a truth sayer, someone who is a light bringer. Yes, apparently that's what we are. We are terrorists because we speak the truth and we bring the light. So Anna, testing your connection to see
every time you drop a truth, they try to cut you. And that's what, these criminals, they can't handle the truth. They cannot handle the fact that they have all this power, and even with all that power, we're still treading through. And along what you said, just thing that live on my knees, and they know it. I am not going to stop. And if they dare do something to my beloved friend, Dr. Lambert, you better believe that the wrath of God is coming against them faster than ever. So they better just stay away from him. Melissa, I wanted to mention something that I was talking on the phone about it right now before I got your call, and it is that I have gotten reports that there is a targeted justice app, and which is fake. It's the criminals must have made it, okay? So, and that people are registering for targeted action in there. This is the level of criminality, because they are so threatened by us showing up in DC that they're making a fake app. And I'm going to check about this. So please, if you have reports about this, send me screenshots to tjustice2@proton.me, because I need to report it with the app stores. And, under the Lanham Act, this is illegal. So we need to demand, and the same, there's only one official targeted justice page, which I manage. And there's a lot of fake pages, and there's even one that is called Targeted Justice Support that scams people of money. Please don't fall for it. Targeted Justice only asks for donations. We never promise to end your targeting. and because I'm the only attorney that showed up to fight these monsters. So please be very wary of those fake impersonators of targeted justice. It's not us. And you can only write to us at tjustice2@proton.me, and also in the targeted justice page, and in the Facebook page that I manage, that we have like 1,500 members. That's it.
My goodness. So now somebody's come out with an app, having people register, having them get the money, because we know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's going to be the onslaught of all these messages about how targeted justice is asking, taking people's money again, when it's these criminals that are coming in and imitating targeted justice, and it's not even connected. So if it's not on targeted justice website or the X platform, you have to make sure that don't look at anything other than those channels that are authentic. And it's hard because it is so deceiving and it's deceptive. And that's what these people, these lowlifes that have nothing better to do with their time than to take other people's money, that are wanting to have help and relief within our community. And this is why we get such a bad rap. Targeted justice gets a bad rap, and TIs in general, us authentic targeted survivors. I'm trying to get away from the individual. We are survivors. We're going to stand on that word of survivor and not succumb to this madness. But this is why we, being the authentic survivors, get a bad rap too, because so there's so many that are in there that are not. And that's how this is the psyop, everybody. This is how they further try to discredit us by doing these type of shenanigans. And that's all it is another tactic that they have in their arsenal of foolery that they do on a regular to us, to try to harm us.
I want your audience and TI have no idea how many people write to me begging me to represent them. Let me make sure. Are you hearing me? Yes?
I can.
Hearing me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, begging me, please, I'll pay whatever you want to represent me. And my consistent answer to everybody is this: I cannot dedicate myself to 1 or 2 or 10 TIs, because I am fighting for everybody. Even those that slander us, okay, that are mind control to slander us, I am fighting for absolutely everybody. And the moment I deviate from that mission and I just take individual cases, I'm going to have abandoned, because the day only has 24 hours. And I am also a victim. I also get brain fog. I also get procrastination. I also get a lot of attacks that make it very hard for me. I wish you could understand how hard I know, because I have a commitment person. It's about every one of those 278,000 that in 2020 around the world. That's what my mission is, and that's why I am committed to working, through targeted justice, because I am absolutely certain that it is the organization that has the true science and the credibility to be able to go before Congress one day and testify before Congress and talk about the suffering of everybody. Okay, so I want you, look, let me tell you about the list. The list is distributed to over 600 corporations, over 1,200 organization, which includes sheriffs, police, tribal, whatever. Everybody and their mother has the list of.
Can you repeat that again? Because you had cut out. You had cut out. Can you repeat that?
Yes.
How they distribute the list? So 600. You said corporations.
Okay. Let me explain. In the El Haiti versus Cable case, which was in the Eastern District of Virginia, I got all this data. I didn't make up this data. I got all this data from the records they put in the appeals court. Okay, it's over 900 pages. You are more than welcome to get. And among the records in there is, number one, that they distribute the list, including not just the watch list, but the handling codes 3 and 4 through the National Crime Information Center. And they distribute it to over 600 corporations, which are like the Fortune 500, which includes CVS, which includes Walgreens, which includes, you name it, Trader Joe's, all Kroger's that are, all of them. So, and I'm going to talk, and during Christopher Wray's administration, he made a portal. So people from these corporations, when they came into contact with you, they had to do a little report to this portal. That is why in the prohibited access and restricted access files, that because Senator Chuck Grassley exposed it because of an electronic communication of the FBI, that is where the report of the people that interacted with you wrote, squealing, oh yeah, and she had passion fruit ice cream and whatever. Okay, that's stupidity. Okay, so those 600 corporations, then you have 1,200 organizations. We're talking here universities, we're talking here TransUnion and Experian and all of those credit agencies. We're also talking about Western Union. Have you had the chance to go try to send money through Western Union and you can't? That is why, because you are on the list of suspected terrorists, okay? And then they send it also to 60 countries, which is why you get gang stalk when you go to France or England, to 1,800 law enforcement, and you get stopped. But what the cop sees is that you're a suspected terrorist. So that's why I urge everybody to download and have in your car printed, because I saw one of our beloved TIs was complaining today. He's been constantly stopped by law enforcement. I promise you this, the moment you give the first of these flyers, they stop doing it, because these cops, some of them are crooked, yeah. But most of them don't know that this is a criminal program run by the FBI, DHS, CIA, etc. As soon as you give them the flyer, they will stop stopping you. So get to targetedjustice.com. In the activism page, there's a flyers section, and there's one for police. So does that answer your question, Melissa?
Yes. And again, those flyers would be available on Targeted Justice website, and it's a very good point. You said they're the one that is specific for the police if you're getting pulled over. And oh, Anna, yes, we wanted to mention too, I just remembered that we need to remind everybody that if somebody is knocking on your door and you don't know who that person is, do not answer it. Because when we are out and speaking our truth about what's going on and happening to us and out there, and we've heard it time and time again that a targeted survivor will get a knock on the door and they answer it and they're taken away. So it's just for your own safety. If you don't know who that person is, then just do not answer the door at all. I know that, Ring cameras and stuff like that can be messed with, but they also very helpful when they're not being interfered with to see what's going on outside of that door. So never answer your door blindly, because you just don't know what's going to be on the other end of it. So
If
it's
I
just a
can add,
precaution.
let me add to that. I'm sorry I'm breaking up. Look, we are being under attack. This program is under attack, and I urge you to stay tuned because the criminals don't want you to hear what we have to say. Okay?
Mm-mm.
Please share this broadcast, even if the quality is not good, because you need to share the information. Listen to me. You need to get like one of those eyes, door eyes. I don't know how you call them, peeping eyes through the door, so that you see who's behind your door. You do not open the door unless the person has a warrant, and you do not engage in conversation, not even through the door. Let me explain to you something. These people with the wellness checks cannot go to an Article 3 court or to a normal court to say that they have to have, you have to have what is called probable cause. For a cop, of course, we have cops that lie. We know that they go to, because the FBI criminals constantly lie to the FISA court about us in order to continue renewing the applications. But the FISA applications are different, because with a FISA application, all they can do is listen to us, do what they're doing here, break down your door and arrest you. In order to do that, they need to convince a judge that there is probable cause for that judge to issue a search and seizure warrant, an arrest warrant. So what I'm saying is, do not open the door. Okay, let me explain to you how they did the wellness check on me. And so for story, please, have not. Hey, Mando, I'm here with Melissa. For the benefit of those that don't know about it. So I get this knock on the door of this very, very dumb police. His name, he couldn't even make up a real name. He said, I am policeman amigo or friend or something, like really stupid. This was in Puerto Rico. And then he goes, no, because some people, the neighbors have been complaining about you. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. You're here. Okay. Yeah, they died. Oh, are you sad about your parents dying? And I'm like, of course, but who isn't, you know? So then they go, well, the neighbors have been complaining about you, whatever. And I'm like, excuse me. You've been here talk. Oh, because then I said, I want to see the complaints against me. I want to see a complaint. And then he goes, no, you will see them in your preliminary hearing. And I said, excuse me, you have been here talking to me without reading my Miranda rights, without telling me that there is a complaint against me, all in violation of my Fifth Amendment to remain silent. You come into my house without a warrant, abusing all my rights. You get out of here now. But the thing is, I'm an attorney, you see? But I have seen how people just open the door and they just grab their arm and arrest them and take them away. So you please do not open the door unless the police has a warrant, okay? Because these criminals are very... desperate right now. Last victim before their walls come crumbling down. The chat, brother. Okay, Melissa. So
the best thing you could do if they don't have a warrant is give them the finger and tell them to get off.
No, I can't say that because I'm an attorney. Okay. I'm sorry about that, Mando. I hope that I conveyed the urgency of you to protect your castle and not open the door.
Yes, amen.
I wanted to mention, Melissa, Targeted Justice newsletter put a note about writing to the White House. You know how our emails get interfered with. However,
Mhm.
if you write directly through the contact form, they get it. You will know if they get it or not because they will reply to you from the official government website saying, we got your email.
Mhm.
Wrote a short message, a sample message of what you can write.
Mhm.
We need each and every one of you to exert your right to write to the president and tell him you have to stop government weaponization for the people that do not have the access to power that you do, because we are being tortured, and you can copy. That's not what the Targeted Justice newsletter suggested. You should copy what it's suggested in the Targeted Justice newsletter. And if you want to add a little bit of your personal thing, that's okay, but please don't go into the fantastical thing.
Yes, and I think what Anna was saying there before getting cut off is, less is more.
Kim Kardashian is targeting you. Just if remember, each one of you is an ambassador to this community.
Yes. You were cutting out, but what Anna was saying is each one of you are an ambassador to the community.
In a cohesive way.
I do apologize for today with the choppiness of the connection. That's what led to Chris not being able to join the call.
You speak on behalf of everybody, and that's how they discard us, and that is what the criminals have been counting on. That
let's see if she comes back, and maybe we can go to the chat. If anyone has any questions you'd like to ask Anna or myself, just go ahead and drop the question. Yes, it looks like the connection is worsening on her end. Yeah. For those that are just now joining, our special guest, Christopher Mettlen, was unable to join due to the technical difficulties that Anna's experiencing here too. His was worse to the point where he couldn't even connect. But I will get him rescheduled. Okay. Hi, Anna. Can you hear it? Can you hear me? Let me try.
Can somebody tell me if
it's very, very choppy. Let me try. I'm going to remove her and add her back into the stage. And okay, there we go. Anna, is that better? I tried to remove you and add you back to the stage. It could be. It's just this connection is just so poor today. I don't know if it's StreamYard, interference with the criminals, or a combination of all of the above. I want her to be able to answer some of these questions. I know they're very specific to Anna, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get her back. Let's see. I'm just going through. Anna, can you hear me now? Yeah, it's just a poor connection. Again, I apologize. These things seem to happen. And, when we are really out there, put to task and speaking out and such. We'll see if we can get Anna back and see if her connection improves. But one thing that I wanted to mention, can someone just confirm that you can hear me clearly? And that would be helpful, just so that I know that you can hear me. Good, good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for confirming. What Anna had mentioned to me before earlier today is Dr. Lynn Burr is under severe directed energy attack. And it has gotten progressively worse. And this happened after he had published the article about Dr. Hoffer. Anna's trying to, it's just coming in and out. Okay, I'm going to try removing the connection and adding her back in just a moment, because I really know that she wanted me to mention this today, that we, call to task for our community to pray for Dr. Lindbergh. Ever since he published the article on Substack and on his X channel, about Dr. Hoffer no longer seeing civilian patients related to Havana syndrome and the anomalous health incidents. After that is when he was already on regular directed energy attack, but since those publications, he is under very, very severe attack. So this is a call to order for our community to lift Dr. Burr up in prayer and to fight the spiritual battle that we have against these monsters that want to attack us for speaking truth. So God, we come before you today and seeking your divine protection for Dr. Lynn Burr and for all of those that are targeted, and shelter us from spiritual attacks. And we declare that we are covered by the blood of Jesus, and we put on that full armor of God, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shoes of the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, and the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is your word. And we stand firm against all these schemes and attacks of the enemy, and declare that every weapon formed against us shall not prosper. And we bind and we rebuke every spirit of fear, doubt, and deception, and cancel every assignment of darkness that is over our lives, our family, and our homes. We ask you, Spirit, to fill us up with your strength, your wisdom, and discernment. And we ask you to surround us with your angels to be dispatched to protect and defend all of us from harm, any form of harm, canceling out technology, tactics, frequencies, and anything that is coming against our biofield for ill purposes and malevolent, schemes, and just all forms of deception. We bind it, and we trust in your power, God, and your promise to be the refuge and fortress for each of us. Amen. All right, let's bring Anna back up to the stage here. She's coming back in. Hi, Anna. Can you hear me?
Yes, Melissa, I think we should call it a day, because these criminals are not gonna let up.
Yeah.
They're not gonna let up, and we got our point across.
Yeah.
They are scared of us. So all of you listening, this is no time to back off. This is the time to plunge ahead.
We must, persevere and press forward. When we're having this much resistance, that means that we're making these devils nervous. So we just have to keep on going. And while you were disconnecting and rejoining, I said a prayer for Dr. Lynn Burr and asked the community to lift him up in prayer and to, for God to bind and rebuke all that is coming against him and all of us, So it can, it seems like when you reconnected, the connection was better this time. And
Sure.
there was a question for you. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. This one here I'm bringing up on the screen. Let me see if it'll show. There we go. How do we in other countries, all the things that you have mentioned, they are looking for advice for outside of the U.S. What can they do? And who, I would say contact, the government agencies that are related to your specific country, right, Anna? Do you have some guidance there?
Yeah, well, one very powerful thing is the following. In the flyer section, we have translated to all languages the medical emergency clinic and hospitals flyers, and they contain images of the burns and the lesions that targeted individuals have. One of a really people on the fringes, not just the government people, but people bringing them to hospital and clinics, because when people wait a minute, and that is quiet and that the criminals cannot stop, because with one flyer you can educate 10-20 people. Okay, it's very powerful. Do not underestimate the power that professionals in your country have. That's one way. The other way is to translate to your language the police flyer saying what it says in there, and just translate it, okay, and put targetedjustice.com.
Yes, very good advice there. There's a lot of information out on.
Particularly the people in France. The people in France, you have to use a VPN, a humble channel, even though we don't have that many videos, but we have some videos in French. So if you put your VPN settings to America, you can access them. We are little by little trying to do the AI translation of important videos for people, because information is power. Once you realize where these attacks come from and how the technology works, you learn how to fight back. Okay. And also, I put Havana syndrome in Spanish, Havana syndrome videos in the targetedjustice.es in the Havana syndrome tab. So it's a matter of being more clever than them. And you know what? Anybody can be more clever than these government stupid criminals. They have forced us to be more creative and more intelligent. And so that is one tactic that you can use. No, they cannot build weapons in their garage. Listen, when you put misinformation in this kind of chat, you hurt the community. You don't have evidence of that. And that is precisely what the criminals want, that you listen to your V2K and you repeat whatever your V2K tells you. No, These Vercator weapons are very expensive, and they are created by a company called L3 Harris, and they are sold to the United States government. Let me repeat once again. There's a guy by the name of Stephen Muldrow in Ohio. Look him up. He heard the voices of a mother and an adolescent, and a pair of elderly couple. Convinced they had microwave. Guess what time? Guess their voices were being replicated with a program called Adobe Vocal, which imitates with a 45-second sample of a person's voice. They can make an entire speech with that person's voice. So please do not bring misinformation here, because listen, Michael Mejia, I don't know what credentials you have, but Richard Lighthouse has the for example, the guy that went around and vandalized
We're having such problems with our
he went
connection.
vandalizing some cyber trucks because he was a lie. That's a lie, and now he faces jail for many, many decades. Please, initial things to peer-reviewed articles to patents. Don't listen to people that go around saying, what I'm set up, crap you in Ohio. Oh God, there he goes.
Yes, it's the
Melissa, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me. Can you hear me? And okay, Michael is saying his intent was it's neurodefense, and he didn't mean any no harm. The book is something that he published. So thank you for clarifying, Michael. I know that y'all have had those that have hung in there with all of the technical difficulties that we've had today. I really do appreciate you hanging in there. This is how we continue. We're not going to just, be discouraged by these technical difficulties. We're just going to continue to fight another day, and never give up, never surrender. If we don't stand up for this, then we fall, and we just have to tap into that internal fire within us to keep the flames burning of awareness and being that light. And that's what it is. Our little light bulb is on and we're shining out there, and darkness doesn't like it. It wants to devour the light. And especially when there's so much agenda, this deep rooted, this is nothing new. This has been a legacy and historical events, one right after another, where innocent people get crucified and persecuted and enslaved and tortured. But we're going to go down in the history books of being the group that the government allowed to be stepped on and tortured by, everything ties to money. Everything is about capitalism. It's about power, greed, and control, and all of those dark things that, mankind can fall for. And it's all those pitfalls and those traps that when people get a taste, that they can have this, sense of, power and control over something. They just become ravenous like vultures, and they want more of it. It's like it's their own vice. It's their addiction to that greed, that power and control, whether it be that they came from nothing and now they feel like they, have some skin in the game, but they're misusing and abusing their power. I think that the greatest karmic debt that anybody could ever collect upon in their life is the abuse of power and control over others and the innocent. So what goes around comes around. And so and what this teaches us is about how strong we are and how resilient we can become, that we can, look this devil of corruption and deceit and deception and, tyranny and capitalism, everything is about viewing these precious souls on earth as a commodity that is expendable by those that have, the power, control, the money, the wealth, all of that backing, influence, and connection to sit here and do this to others. And all we can do is just put our foot firmly into the ground saying, we're not going to take this mess not a day more, and we're going to ignite that power within ourselves to speak out and act out, and not act out in a violent way or a discrediting way, but act out in awareness and spreading the information out. We need to be, peaceful in our pursuits, because the pitfall is, they want us to act out and do something foolish so that they can get us labeled permanently. And, like I said, we don't care about their labels and what they think of us. We know the truth. God knows the truth of who we are and what we are, right? And what they don't want people to do is to reclaim their power and their self-worth, and to think that this life that has been given to us, against our free will, is something that we're just going to sit down and take, and that this is how our life and our days left on this earth is going to play out. I refuse to accept that, because I'm standing in the power of God's promise and clinging to my birthright as one of God's children, that I'm not going to relent. This experience has taught me what the inner warrior that was within me. I was really an introvert. I don't like to, I wasn't one that wanted to be public or have a lot of spotlight on me. All I wanted to do was do good and speak truth and to help either, a business, help others, and just to stand in my personal, morality, and what I was taught and what I learned growing up. So this experience, although it seems like it can be so engulfing, which it is engulfing, but let it teach you just how strong you are. And I know it seems like that's very reduced and minimalized statement, but this is how we take our power back, and refusing to stay down when they knock us down. And this is what's I see it all the time, the beautifulness within this community and the resilience. We're beautiful souls that have been given really, really crappy cards, and we're taking the hand that we've been dealt with, and we're turning things around. And strength in numbers. It doesn't matter if anybody believes you in your inner circle. That's the one thing that I just had to let go of. Either you're going to get on the bus. You know who I am. I have not changed. I've only strengthened my voice and fortified myself through this experience. So the way that I look at it is, if someone in my circle cannot get on the bus with that, then there is the door. Because I've got to fight, in this. I am not going to give up. I'm not going to stay quiet about it. Don't think that, I won't speak out about it in interaction. I speak about this all the time in my circle. So if people don't like it, it's okay. And I've had to let people go, because every like everything is. There's a time and a season and a reason, and what's meant to be will come back. But I'm not going to go chasing any closed doors anymore. We've got work ahead of us, and we are striking hot right now, and we're not backing down. And no matter what they try to do to trip us, we can see through this. You know, what these people do, the scheming of this program is very repetitious, because repetition coming against the object of desire, which is our mind, right? To mess with us, to jack with us, and to deceive us, to have us second guess and question ourselves. This is what it wants you to do. Because what does that do? It distracts you from focusing on what's best for you and persevering and making action and tangible action toward that. If they have you stumble, to have you pause and to have you look back. You know, this is what we have to do. We have to keep the eye on the prize, which is our liberation, and this message reaching the masses. There is so much out there right now in this world where, you know, promises were made in truth and transparency. How many times have we heard this in the last couple of months? And yet, you know, the poor victims, which we, you know, look at what's being done against us, being tortured like this with directed energy that, you know, everyone in the know is looking the other way and not looking at us, because they are up against a known Goliath if they speak out about it. But I think there's going to be more and more whistleblowers coming forward on this, because people are up there. Their cups are filled and it's running over. They are tired of hearing empty promises of words with no action to meet it. You victims of, you know, Epstein Island, MK Ultra, always, where is the justice in this? With all of these pedophiles in this world, you would think that that would be a priority, just like it would be a priority for torturing innocent men, women, and children and elderly with directed energy weapons, perfecting a warcraft, so that they move from war on a battlefield to war on a mind, and being able to remotely control and destroy someone without stepping foot on a battlefield, right? Isn't that what Dr. Duncan then said? You know, building out this. Do you know that we are kind of the 1%? You know, we're in this fight. We still have our souls intact. We're still opening our mouth and trying to get this injustice, all these shenanigans out into the open. But do you know how many people I see on a daily basis where I don't even think it's them driving the bus, that they're lost? I see a lot of lost people out there. And those are the ones that this technology is coming for. And the ones that buck up against it saying, hey, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. What is this coming up against me? Yet we are empowered, and we know that something is coming up against us. And there is this, you know, barometer or meter within us going, hey, something isn't right. This isn't who I am. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to research. And then here is all of these other people reporting the same exact thing out there. Yet so many people would rather stay spoon-fed in the dark without their own soul driving the bus every day. And that is so sad. It is so sad to see so many people that the light has been turned off in them, and they are comfortable in not questioning one thing. But that should not deter us, because there are others out there, many, many others, who are trying to grasp on something that they're feeling on the inside, where they're questioning, what is going on with this? It seems that we keep getting dropped all of these, you know, truth bombs and transparency bombs, but then all of these criminals are still sitting on their couch, going to their little parties, and, you know, having their life with no accountability. We refuse to let those that commit these civil atrocities to go unscathed from these injustices. And this is why it's important that we take action and we fight back. And I ask you, each and every one of you, if you're interested in having your story shared and you feel that you can give valuable information back to this community and give examples of how you have persevered and how you have built up your resilience and you've been able to detect the patterns of this targeting program, let your voice be heard and reach out to me at chosen_heroes@proton.me and let's get you on the podcast. Okay? Because again, all of this podcast does is give one example after another that this is happening to innocent, law-abiding, peaceful civilians, and it's gone unheard purposely by mass media and those that are in the seat of power. It's like you look at it and you look at the world as a stage and you see a lot of marionette lines and they are just being juggled along. You know, this is why I think people who are in power, real people who want to make a difference would buck up against being controlled on the strings of a marionette, you know, being a marionette to it. So yes, I speak very frankly, but you know, there's no way of sugarcoating this. We live and breathe this 24/7 each and every single day. And as long as there's breath in this body, I will continue to fight it because I will never relent or surrender to this madness. And I put the devil on notice. The devils that are allowing this to happen are just as guilty as the ones who created this technology that was used for malevolent reasons. You know, with every invention, there can be, you know, the good and the bad side of it. So just like with Dr. Duncan, he was a part of building this technology, and then it was used for malevolent purposes, and he tried to speak out against it. You know, it's a prime example. We can fight back and not heed and never surrender on this. It is our right and our power to do so. And that is why it's so important to continue to have examples. Remember, tracks in the sand. These podcasts are tracks in the sand. This is historical information that is out on the web. It's searchable and it's obtainable and it can be played. We know that, let's say today we reach, you know, a couple hundred people, but then it continues to live on. Know that when you speak out and you do this and you create your own tracks in the sand, you are creating history for others to come along and reference. Don't discredit God's power to have people breach. It's going to be perpetual. From 2012, I've continued to put tracks in the sand. This podcast is just one example. Having guests on here is another example that with the masses of people reporting this, we cannot be crazy. And in this time where everything is imploding and we're getting, you know, bits and pieces of things where we have been misled for many years, for many, many years, only to find out it was a different narrative. You know, we may have always felt it in our gut that something wasn't right there. And then they go and they drop, you know, a crumb saying, oh, it really wasn't right. There was some treachery about it. And then it goes radio silent. It's, to me, I think when media is doing this and those in power are doing this, I think it's to keep people in perpetual fear. You know, because what happens when people, their defenses are down, they're questioning everything. They're like waiting for the next shoe to drop. that is prime time for mind control. When defenses are dropped and what you were led to believe is shattered. I mean, does this sound familiar, TI community? Can I get an amen? We know about this. When we first had this happen to us and our world imploded and our defenses were off the chart because we're like, where is it coming out next? Everything, red alert, everything, red alert. That is when we became prime time to get mind controlled and conditioned by this experience. So now, with all this upheaval that's going on in this world right now, I think it is a tactic out of vulnerability, people, questioning everything, going, oh my God, what's coming next? It is priming them for mind control. That's just my theory. Because why is it time after again, we learn that we've been lied to all of these years about X, Y, and Z, and then there's no accountability. That creates angst. That creates tension. Going, my gosh, you're going to drop this on us, but then nobody is being held accountable for it. We know this song all too well, don't we? About nobody ever getting held accountable for what they do to us. So we had the cliff notes, we had the sneak preview because we were going through this all. We know what the powers that be and those in high places and those of wealth and power are capable of because we live it every single day. So are we meant to help those that are now going to be coming into this? Because and these may have been people that had scoffed at us thinking that we were tinfoil hats and that we had all lost our marbles because we were walking around with tinfoil and, Faraday cage and all of this stuff, talking about humming and audible voices and all of this stuff. Well, when people are now seeing that, all this stuff that was said, we were taught since children was the truth, and now it's not the truth anymore. I think people are more receptive to us. And now we're kind of the pillars of strength because we know what it's capable of and we know the falsitude. We know what it feels like to be hidden and tucked away and never talked about like a dirty little secret. Nobody wants to own up to it because they're going to get it if they do. This is why when Jeffrey Prather was on the podcast and he said there are these unacknowledged special access programs that require top security clearance. Not just anyone with top security clearance can have it. Only the chosen few that are read in to that special access program. Unacknowledged at that. Black op. Unacknowledged special access program. Likely because they have the powers that be and control this, have something over their head that they can use as a bargaining tool to keep them silent. Okay? This is what we're up against. So let's let God move the mountains and turn the hearts of those that have all of this tangible evidence that is undeniable. Because that's where I think God is going with this. It's going to be such a mass leak that it's going to be undeniable. They're not going to be able to, other than maybe they'll try to detract it, blame it on another country. Who knows? Whatever the motive is. The important thing is it doesn't matter. We need it to come out because that is how it ends. And there's liberation here. Somebody has got to be the pioneer in this to speak out against it, no matter what. And when God's favor is on you, he will make it possible. But to me, life isn't living sitting in silence and just sitting here being beat up on every single day and tortured and just sitting there hoping that, I hope today's going to be, less bad than yesterday. And I'll just stay silent. No, that's not how I'm made. I can't do it. And I don't encourage you to do it either because they're still doing it. So this is why they want us to recoil. They want us to pause. They don't want us to speak out on this because we are the truth and we are the light. I'm going to bring up a comment here. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this darkness world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Amen. That's exactly it. This is a spiritual battle. We have got to get covered by a higher power. Whatever resonates with you, spirit, universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, you've got to get plugged in. You've got to plug in, because when we don't connect upward, we stay tethered to the 3D matrix. And this is like this faux, earth grid that they try to anchor us into. They don't want us to ascend above this, but we have to ascend above. We have to make time for prayer, meditation, to have that connection. We got to go into our countermeasures of raising our personal vibration, because they have more control when we are in fear, grief, sadness, depression, anxiety, all of those things. You've got to find that joy within you. You've got, what did you like to do as a child? Have some time for that inner child to be an explorer and to be creative. When I feel so much better when I'm creating with my own hands, whether it be, baking or a meal, or, doing some kind of craft project. I recently got an old school, Auditory. Tap into something that isn't about 24/7 targeting and, trying to survive this. We have to find an outlet, whether it be nature, whether it be going for a walk, whether it be, the water. We've got to try. We have to connect. We have to ground. Go outside, ground with your feet, have a grounding mat. To have it be 24/7 targeting all day, no, it's not healthy. You're not giving your mind enough time to rest and have reprieve from it. So I noticed that the targeting, it does lessen when I'm, playing, music that is uplifting, doing something creative and constructive. It can't hold that space when we are creating and we are nurturing ourselves and giving back to ourselves. This experience has denied us of enough. So be damned that it's going to deny every single minute of our day. So please, 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 just put it as a priority to put yourself first at some point in your day and do something for yourself. Okay? I love each and every one of you. I'm sorry that there were so many technical challenges, but we will get Chris Mettlen rescheduled. And, glory be to God, it'll be fine the next time go round, because today, even with Anna interfering, trying heavy interference, because our voice is our most powerful weapon. Our ability to take action and to see ourselves as empowered and embrace our self-worth. We are not going to accept the cards that have been dealt to us. We're going to turn that hand around and we're going to play it and we're going to win, because we have God's favor on our side. We know who we are. We are not going to be ordained to a soulless existence that we see so much out there. People are timid to rock the boat, or maybe they're so heavily under an influence and attack that they can't even see themselves out of the tunnel. But we are empowered by this knowledge. And thankfully for organizations like Targeted Justice, who are out there fighting the good fight, like Dr. Lynn Burr, who is under severe attack right now. Again, please, as a community, we need to lift him up in prayer. And every one of you, I pray for every single day. I see and I feel our liberation. What does it feel like to be free? What would you feel like? What would it feel like to be living in total freedom each and every day without having this loom, this dark cloud over your head? When you pray and you meditate, you tap into that feeling right now, because what that does, it accelerates it. It's like putting gasoline on it. When you are in prayer and meditation and you are tapping into that feeling and you are visualizing yourself as free, you're visualizing yourself as being prosperous and reclaiming your life and your power and living your best life. You have to tap into that feeling, and visualization with prayer and meditation is going to take it to the next level, the level they never want you to achieve. So please heed these words today. I love each and every one of you. And I continue to pray for you. And I thank you for being with me today. And God bless. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and evening. I love each and every one of you.